on everyone, this is Noah from Spanky the Sparky back with a conduit bending video. Today's video I am going to go over how to match offsets of different size conduits. This is very important because you may come in behind another person on a project, or you may come in after the fact, long after the project's initially been done, and let's just say you want to try and match their bends so your conduit looks good. Not an afterthought. You never want an afterthought pipe to go into place. You want everything to look like it's naturally flowing. This video is going to go over that. So let's just assume that, let's just say this is our panel. Obviously it's not. I'm in my garage. But for the video, let's assume this pipe's coming out of the panel and it had to offset for whatever reason. Typically, and almost never, do you want to offset directly out of a panel. But for this instance and this example, let's just assume we had to offset immediately. With that being said, in order to match your bend, so we have a 1-inch conduit right here, 1-inch offset. We don't know what size this offset currently is. And then obviously this is the pipe I bent in my last video. We're going to use some of my spare pipe over there, but we're going to match our bends. So let's get to it. So there's many different ways you can go about finding the center of a bend. Everyone has their own preference. This is just my preference. All you will need for this is a speed square and then a pencil, of course. What I like to do, we have both of our bends. Obviously, this is a little dog leg. It's just a piece of scrap, but you get the point. We're going to take our speed square. We're going to go to our first bend of our offset, which if you remember when I first showed it, similar to this. So what we're going to do, we have this down. Obviously, in the field, if this is already installed, you're not going to be able to take it down. But for learning and visuals, we can obviously take this down. In the field, you would do everything, but it would be up on the wall or up on the strut. What I like to do, though, I take my speed square, and just like this, as you can see, I line it up. It's a little dog leg, which makes it a little more challenging. But we're going to take our speed square, just like this. We have this back end lined up. As you can see, it's sitting pretty flush up against that bend. And all we're going to do, draw a straight line right there. All right. And then from there, same thing over here. We're going to go to this opposite side of this bend. Same thing, line up this back side, and bam, X marks the spot. I always like to do this, just so I know exactly where it's at. We found the center of our first bend. Now, because we have this down on the ground, we could measure the distance off a straight surface and get our offset length. I'm not going to do that before this video. So what we're going to do, let's assume this pipe was still up in the air like this. What we're going to do, we're going to do the same exact thing that we did over here, but we're going to do it over here. So one, we got our center bend here, then we're going to get our center bend here. We'll then be able to measure from bend to bend to determine our offset size. Now, from being in the field, most people can look at a standard 30-degree bend or a standard 45-degree bend and be like, yeah, that's a 45, yeah, that's a 30. I can tell just by looking at this that this is a 45-degree bend. That is simply something that comes with time. So bear with me. So, like I said, since this is on the ground, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this, just like so, just like last time. We're going to take our speed square. We have our back up against it. Oh, kind of slid on me right there. Back up against it, just like this. We have line 1, flip it around. Back up against it again. Once again, it's kind of awkward because 1, it's small, and 2, it's kind of dog leg. X marks the spot, and then I like to draw that line in. So, as you can see, we now have 2 different marks. We have the centers, or what's perceived as the center of both of our bends. Once again, this is a scrap piece of conduit. It is dog leg, but it will work for our demonstration. So, we found both of our center marks, right? What we can do at this point, there's 2 things. One, we can get a measurement from the end of our pipe to our first bend mark, which to there looks to be about, let's just go with 6 and, I don't know, let's go with 6 7/8 of an inch. So 6 7/8. Mark 1. Mark 2. So this is center to center. We're just going to get a measurement. So center to center, let's just start with 1 right there. So it's a nice whole number. it looks like, let's go with, so from 1 to about 8 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, so we're going from 1 to 8 3/4. 8 3/4 minus 1. Let's just do this. So we're at, if you take the end of the tape measure, we're at about, let's just say 7 3/4 of an inch. It's a little bigger, but I think it'll still work. So 7 3/4 of an inch. We're going to add 7 3/4, so our bend spacing. We're going to add that to our mark number 1. 6 7/8, add 7 3/4. Do some quick math real fast. Sorry, not exactly the best at doing math in my head, especially fractions anyways. But 6 7/8, oops, 6 7/8, add 7 3/4. That's going to give us 14 5/8. So, like I keep saying, center marks. That's very important for the bending aspect and how we use our bender. However, the good thing about bending on the center is we can mark this out just as it shows. So, mark number 1, off the end of our pipe, on this 1-inch pipe, we got a measurement of 6 7/8 of an inch. So the first thing I want to do, don't mind this, once again just scrap, so it's not pretty at all, but it'll work for the video. So, off the end of the pipe, 6 7/8 of an inch. We're going to make mark number 1. And like I said in my first video, my tracing of lines is nothing pretty, so please don't judge me for that. But we'll give it a little wrap around. And then mark number 2 we determined was 7 3/4 of an inch further down, which gives us a total of 14 5/8 of an inch off the end. So 14 5/8 right there. And once again, draw a pretty little circle to appease everyone. So, we have finally got our measurements. We found that by getting our center mark of bend 1, center mark of bend 2 on the pipe we want to match. This is a 1-inch EMT conduit. This is a 3/4 EMT conduit. We've determined that after we found our center marks, we determined off of the end to mark number 1, it was 6 7/8 of an inch. And then we determined from mark to mark, so center bend to center bend, it was, or the center of the bend to center of the bend, it was 7 3/4 of an inch. If we add that 7 3/4 to 6 7/8, that got us our 14 5/8 of an inch, which is how we got these two marks here. We have mark number 1 at 6 7/8, mark number 2 here at 14 5/8 of an inch. Now, I keep emphasizing the center of the bend. That's where this, I guess, how we bend it becomes important. If we take these marks and bend it on the arrow, our bends are not going to match this conduit. Even though our spacing and everything, or our marks and spacing is the exact same, what's perceived to be as the same, it is not going to work if we bend it on the arrow. The one area that it will come out perfect is if we bend it on the center mark. That is this little triangle right here, or not sure if all benders have that triangle. I don't really know. I do know they have this notch. On both sides you can see notch, notch. That is the center bend. That is where we're going to bend both of these. That will allow our center of our bends to match the center of the bends. Pretty simplistic. So let's get to bending. So, first step, let's load our conduit into our bender. Once again, I have a Klein bender. I bought this at Home Depot or Lowe's, one of the two. But either way, does a great job. Brand new. Bought it about 2 months ago. So, mark number 1, mark number 2. As you notice, mark number 1 is now right where our center bend is. We've determined, just by looking at it from my experience in the field, that it is a 45-degree offset. So, like I do, or what I like to do, is I bend all of my bends on the ground. I don't like to air bend. That's just a personal preference. So what I like to do on all my offsets, I take my foot, wrap it in front kind of, shin down, little pressure, bam. Not really looking at what degree it is because, like I said it on the ground. That is just a personal preference. If you air bend it and you're good at it, that's awesome. That's not for me though. Take my level, and we're just going to bend it up. We have a 30-degree bubble, and then we have our 45-degree bubble. That is the one we are using. So we're going to bend it up until our 45-degree bubble starts to fold up, or bend up, and go level. This is just something that comes with time and experience. You're not going to be perfect to begin with, and that's perfectly fine. With enough time and experience, like anything else, you'll be just fine. So, bend it right a little bit more. And sorry, it's a little harder for me to do some of this as I'm trying to record as well, so I apologize. But we got bend number 1 done. It's level. Bend number 1 is now done. We're going to 180 our conduit, so we're going to pull it up, 180. Same thing, mark number 2, right in that center bend. To prevent dog legs, it's just a matter of experience and time. As you do more and more offsets, you'll get more and more comfortable. I eyeball it up in the air, same thing as my first bend. Wrap my leg right back, bend down, and then I flip it over, set it on the ground. Now when you're bending conduits, it's important, or it's not, well, it is important, but you want to try and find level ground. That will definitely make your life a lot easier. But there we go, we got our level one. Bend it up, bend it up, maybe a little bit more. And as you can see, perfectly level. All right, we are back. So we bent our offset. I double checked, it is not dog leg. This offset is not. Like I said, this is a scrap piece. This is pretty severely dog legged. So now we can double check our work. What we can do, like I said, if this was already up on strut, mounted, and secured into place, we'd not be doing this on the ground. We would be doing this up on the structure in which we're running the conduit on. In this case, or for this example, I'm able to do it on the ground just to make things a little easier to show you. I'm also working in my garage, so I'm limited with my resources. So this was pipe number 1. This is the pipe that we found our center marks. What we can do, well, there's 2 things we can do. One, we can take our pipe, our first pipe, and set it right on top of the pipe we just bent. Now, as you can tell, fold that up so it's a little level. Match these ends up, and as you can tell, line number 1, it's slightly off, I'm not going to lie. Actually, that's pretty dang close. And if you look at the pencil, that's actually pretty dang close right there. But then on the center mark, this was just drawn in based upon the center and how we found it with our speed square. Bend number 2, once again, not sure how well these glasses are picking this up. This is the mark that we added on when we were doing our math to bend this conduit. This is our center mark that we found by using our speed square. As you can see, all the lines, they might not be 100% perfect, but they're at eyeball, they are very, very close. As you can see, both offsets follow the same radius, same pathway, just like that. It's as simple as that. A lot of people freak out when they're set or told to go find the center of a bend, especially when you're beginning. If you're experienced in the field, it's nothing to you. I know when I first started in the trade about 8 years ago, it was something I kind of freaked out on. Wasn't really sure how to go about it. Hopefully you find this video insightful, helpful in some way. If you don't find it helpful or insightful, I apologize, but hopefully someone does. If you have any questions, concerns, anything, feel free to reach out. Once again, all we needed for this was obviously a tape measure. Shout out to Milwaukee. I love the wide blade magnetic Milwaukees. I also use a smaller Milwaukee speed square. I keep it on me, or at least in my bag. And then a pencil and a bender. But of course, like I said, that is if you were running conduits and you needed to match bends for whatever the case may be. Like I said, hopefully you found this video insightful, helpful. Feel free to ask any questions, and I'll see you on the next one.